I'm just going to say this right to start things off. It's about to get nastier than normal in the city of Chicago.
Policy for public safety placed Martinez and many Chicago officers in harm's way.
Change the policies that put them at risk.
The mayor honored the wishes of Officer Louise Weska's family earlier this year.
We're here longer than quite a few mayors that we've had, and I'm going to stay longer than this mayor. He'll be out before me.
Y'all called it a circuit breaker. Y'all been talked about it. Remember, before you came in here and gave that jovial speech, you need to be inspected. You and that creep over there.
Now, guys, I played a small montage of three separate things. You've got people who have been protesting what's going on in the city of Chicago as far as the migrants are concerned. Of course, we'll get to the property tax issue here in a second because I'm kind of following up on that issue from last week because, of course, I think it all kind of sort of coincides with the feeling of the people of Chicago. And, of course, there's also this bit where Brandon is suddenly saying, you know what, I'm going to go to this slain officer's funeral, even though the family has openly told me do not show up. And also, given the fact that Brandon wants to raise taxes on property in Chicago, he also wants to cut more out of the police officer's budget. I'm pretty sure the family has got a legitimate reason to be pissed off. Truth be told is, at this moment in time, everybody really and truly hates Brandon Johnson. And of course, Brandon Johnson did this crap to himself. However, as you guys will see in this video, as you will also see in the video that I have planned for 5 o'clock, these people cannot help themselves, and these people will not listen to criticism. The criticism that I have for Brandon Johnson, however, is if a family tells you to stay the hell away, you probably need to stay the hell away. But before we get to all the news, before we get to everything that's happened over the weekend, before we get to all these developments, make sure you guys please cut the notifications bell on. Please, you guys do that so that way you guys are notified when these videos come out. Please also at the exact same time, please hit the like button for the algorithm. Please also share the video. You can also find me on Facebook. This is what the page looks like. Just type in John Claymore. You can also follow me on X/Twitter, whichever one you might want to call it. And something else too before we get started, there is at the very end of the video, I'm going to be kind of explaining to you guys what's going to be happening over the course of this week as far as the schedule is concerned. For the time being, we're going to be going back to the old schedule. There will be an official updates video come out probably before Thanksgiving where I better explain exactly what we're going to be doing next year and how the content's going to look. It's not going to change that much in its tone, but still, you guys have already said that, look, we're going to be going in a different direction, talking more pop culture, more sports, more about movies, stuff like that there. But of course, the social commentary is not really truly going to change that much, just the way it's presented. With that there out of the way, let us go ahead and get to our topic. So last week I did a video on the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois and how it was that the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, was basically saying that if Trump wanted to bring in the National Guard, he was not going to cooperate. Excuse me. If Trump was to bring in ICE, he was not going to cooperate. Now, the reasons why it is that these Democrat governors don't want to cooperate is because they obviously want the illegals, so that way when the census comes, they have more overall electoral college votes. And also to go on top of that, they need them to replace another voter base, which, of course, the people in Chicago are obviously, and I'm talking about the people of Chicago who happen to be of a certain color, have been complaining about all year, as you guys will see.
Make the black people, and you underestimate Chicago red. We're the thorn in your side, and we're going to be the thorn on everybody else in this council member side, too. If you don't stop what you're doing, we're going to take matters in our own hand, and we're going to stop it. You know that Trump had pulled 45% of the voter in the state of Illinois, 37 in the city of Chicago. That's the statistic. That means that Illinois is turning purple. We're going to turn red.
Y'all can bird dog me all y'all want, but if it's relationship over duty, then y'all don't serve the blue. And you can smirk all you want.
Mr. Sims, direct your attention towards me, please.
You're a criminal. Why do I got to address you? The feds need to address you. DOJ need to address you, and hopefully Donald Trump will address you. Because you're going to protect the undocumented. Why you going to allow for the citizens in Chicago to suffer under your, 33%? See, Joe Lopez cooked that 3% up a long time ago. Y'all called it a circuit breaker. Y'all been talked about it. Remember, before you came in here and gave that jovial speech, you need to be inspected.
He basically just told Brandon Johnson to his face, man, you ain't shit. they're starting to shift red, meaning that they're starting to shift conservative, meaning they're starting to shift to the Republican Party. I've been talking about this all year with the migrant crisis, and even last year. It's been more so prevalent in the city of Chicago than it has been anywhere else because the city of Chicago's mayor is not exactly willing to play ball on this issue. He is a true believer. He is a true radical, far-left liberal. It's the same guy who, when flash riots occurred, said that the reason why they were occurring is because these kids were hungry. It's because you're going out of your way to defund the police department, and these kids know that they can run roughshod without being held accountable, you idiot. And also, given the fact that the governor of the state of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, has announced that he is going to try to get as many gender reassignment surgeries in as possible, link in the description box, yeah, it's about to get crazy there. These people are fighting for their last bit of relevance. However, if the city of Chicago begins to turn a certain way, then therefore also goes the state of Illinois. A very, very liberal stronghold, which is starting to become, let's just say, a little bit less liberal. But the thing that you guys have got to understand is that the city of Chicago, the mayor, he wants a tax hike on property. Now, why in the hell does he want a tax hike on property? Well, he wants this so that way they can better take care of the illegals that are there, even though the Trump administration, as soon as they take over, ICE is probably going to come in and usurp whatever the hell the state has to say, and they'll probably start the deportation process anyways. It's going to take months for this entire situation to get resolved in the Supreme Court, by which at that point in time, Trump probably would have gotten enough illegals out to where, yeah, it's pretty much a dead case of why it is that you want to scream and holler to bring back people who have already been sent back to where they belong, where they came from. I've talked about immigration before a lot this year. It's kind of fitting that we're going to be ending the year on immigration, even though we've obviously got about 7 more weeks to go. But still, though, the point is this right here. They obviously want the illegals to stay, and the people of Chicago have, quite frankly, had enough, as you guys saw in that little highlight from the city council meeting. I've got more.
Acting like, you just gonna bully everybody. You got people, officers whose families don't even want you to come to the funeral. You just like a schoolyard bully. That at some point, and you might not know nothing about it because you grew up in Elgin, but those of us who grew up on the south side and west side of Chicago, we all know at some point that bully gets cornered in the alley, and everybody come at him, and he ain't gonna have nobody to help him. That's you. That's you.
That's only just a little bit more, okay? Just a tiny bit more. But what exactly is going on as far as the media coverage is concerned? Well, if you ask CBS Chicago, they'll tell you that this is about gentrification.
Racing for impact, Andrew.
Well, Jim and Marie, even though it's still unclear how this tax increase is going to play out here in Pilsen, many homeowners we spoke to today, especially those who are retired and live on a fixed income, say they cannot endure another increase. Back in 2022, Pilsen was among the neighborhoods in Chicago that saw property tax increases shoot up over 40%. Even with protests and tax appeals filed by homeowners, it still wasn't enough to lessen the blow. Gentrification in the neighborhood among the many culprits that have played a role in recent hikes. The frustration on the block has now boiled over into anger in wake of Mayor Johnson's 2025 budget announcement, which calls for an estimated 4% tax increase on average for homeowners. Many who say they're prepared to exercise every option on the table to fight back.
The day I leave, I'm going to leave in a box. But no politician is ever going to force me out of Pilsen. It's my neighborhood.
We're here longer than quite a few mayors that we've had, and I'm going to stay longer than this mayor. He'll be out before me.
I really love how that woman at the very end said, I'll be here and he won't be here. Seems to me like people in the city of Chicago have had enough. Now, real quick, if you're from Chicago and you watch my content and you believe that gentrification is what's really going on, that's like the main driving force here, I'm going to tell you right now that I do not doubt that. I do not doubt that one bit. But you guys obviously see what happens at these city council meetings when people protest the property tax. You guys obviously see what the hell is going on. People have had enough of the money going to migrants. They've had enough of the migrants themselves. Also, to go on top of that, once again, it's the month of November. We are entering winter in the city of Chicago. And what I said last year about there being a potential humanitarian crisis, looming the current presidential administration still does in fact exist, because if these people are obviously on the streets, you could have a health crisis on your hands. And given the fact that the city of Chicago, or at least Mayor Brandon Johnson, wants to enact more and more cuts to the police department and also the fire department, and also to go on top of that, the emergency department, because of course the city of Chicago has its EMS linked with fire, a lot like a lot of other big cities do, things could in fact get nasty. But speaking of that tax hike, let's go ahead and get to that.
Jim Marie, it is unanimous. Every single alderperson voted down the mayor's $300 million property tax proposal. They say they have plenty of ideas. Now Mayor Brandon Johnson is going to be forced to listen to them.
It's a devastating loss for Mayor Johnson. I've been here, going on 17 years. I've never seen this kind of vote take place. And I think in many of our lifetimes, we've never seen this. So it sends a message that massive property tax increase he was looking for is not going to happen.
Did you notice this? The white liberal, he's the one who wants the tax hike. Why is it that, and this has just been my existence since I've been alive. Anytime a Democrat talks about taxes, it's always about raising taxes. You need to lower taxes. Now, look, real quick, I can understand if maybe you want to raise the overall rate, like what happened in the mid-'90s when Clinton was in office and he had to deal with a Republican Congress and Senate, the true heroes of the Clinton administration, the ones who got the tax. Because if you want to raise the overall tax rate to, say, 39% and maybe cut capital gains, cut the corporate tax rate, cut all the other taxes around that, small business, payroll, your economy can thrive if the regulations are balanced out, or if even cut, your economy can thrive. I actually think that that's probably what's going to occur. And if you got rid of some other type of taxes, like, say, the taxes on tips, the taxes on Social Security, yeah, people would still have enough money to make the economy, boom. You know what I'm saying? They'd still have enough money to actually spend. And of course, the inflation would probably be very, very well managed and possibly even lower. What I'm trying to say is this right here. If you're going to raise taxes, you need to initiate some actual tax cuts to go along with it, so that way it balances out. But these idiots, of course, don't believe in that. But let's continue.
Some of those suggestions we've heard from aldermen in the past 2 weeks include an increased liquor tax, increased garbage collection fees, and contributing less to the advance pension payments. Also at today's meeting, members of the Fraternal Order of Police. This as CBS News Chicago has obtained a letter from Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul to Mayor Brandon Johnson. Raoul asking Johnson to, quote, reconsider proposed cuts to the Chicago Police Department. Cuts which would decrease the number of employees charged with fulfilling the department's consent decree. Raoul adds that doing so would place the city at, quote, significant risk of being held in contempt of court. Now, Mayor,
I think that cutting your police department at this moment in time is just stupid. But you want to cut police department pensions and stuff, but yet you want to raise property taxes. And you wonder, like I said, and you wonder why it is the people in the city of Chicago are pissed off. I understand they voted for it. Yes, it's true. But still, though, there are a lot of people in Chicago that didn't vote for it that can't leave Chicago. Just saying. Okay, increased liquor tax, increased garbage tax. Yeah, real quick, I want to ask you a question. Is it possible that maybe what you could do is put trash dumps down the road so that way you can walk down the road and throw the trash in an apartment complex? I mean, there's a lot of apartment complexes and a lot of neighborhoods in Chicago. Do you think maybe that right there could also be a deterrent to what's going on? I mean, I understand that the city trash collectors have got to get their cash, but still at the same time, you can still make the same amount of money in your salary if you do it the way of having a trash dump down the road and people just walk down there and toss their stuff. But then again, at the same time, I kind of understand in a way with the crime and stuff, but still, you might want to consider that. Increasing the liquor tax. Okay, so basically, if people decide to get drunk, then obviously they're going to pay a higher tax. All right, okay. I'm not saying I fully agree with it, but then again, at the same time, I'm also saying, look, I understand that one, but cutting people's pensions and making cuts to the police department. And of course, those cuts will eventually go to the fire department and the Department of Safety altogether. Do you guys see where I'm getting at with this? This is just moronical. And of course, it's also the perfect segue into the next story, because the next story is the real reason why it is that people in the city of Chicago, especially families of cops and relatives, have absolute discontent from Brandon Johnson. I'm just saying that Brandon has done this to himself. And in case you hadn't noticed, people in Chicago, especially people of color, especially black people, they're getting sick and tired of it. But it's not just black people who are getting tired of it. It's also Hispanics. It's also people who are Asian. It's basically anybody and everybody in the city that isn't a white liberal. But speaking of that slain officer, rest in peace, by the way, let's go ahead and get
agreement over how to honor a fallen Chicago police officer.
Enrique Martinez's funeral is Monday, and his loved ones are asking the mayor not to attend, but he says he's going anyway.
Our Jermont Terry shares the perspective from one of Martinez's family friends tonight. Jermont?
Joe and Erica, as the city prepares to honor Officer Martinez, who was killed while on duty, his family, through representatives, making it very clear that the man leading the city should not step foot into the services.
He shouldn't. Brandon Johnson is actively on the side of the enemy. Brandon Johnson basically welcoming all these illegals has led to a situation where you've got Venezuelan gangs that are already in Chicago and more about to show up. While at the same time, he wants to make more and more cuts to the police department where it is that the gang neighborhoods or reform gangs, gang members who are, quite frankly, not about that life anymore, are set to defend themselves without guns, without firearms, by the way, against a bunch of Venezuelan migrant gangs who are pretty daggone nasty, pretty daggone dirty, pretty vicious. And yet they're going to need the police to help protect them, and yet you're cutting. It's almost as if to say this right here is completely by design for something else. But then again, though, at the same time, Brandon Johnson is very, very much a true believer. So this right here is the type of stuff that we can expect out of him. But once again, though, the family is telling this fool, do not come to our son's funeral. You are responsible for him being dead.
Standing outside the 8th Police District, members of the FOP and close friends of fallen CPD officer Enrique Martinez spoke out in solidarity.
Enrique Martinez's family called me up this evening and said they could not do this. They definitely do not want the mayor at any of the functions for Enrique. Plain and simple.
They are here relaying a message from the family directly to Mayor Brandon Johnson. Martinez's family says the mayor's policy for public safety placed Martinez and many Chicago officers in harm's way.
Change the policies that put them at risk.
The mayor honored the wishes of Officer Louise Weska's family earlier this year and did not attend the funeral services. Weska's mother here making sure Martinez's family doesn't endure the back and forth frustration she says she went through with the mayor's office during her grief.
If the mayor really wants to honor, in this case, Enrique Martinez's family, he must respect the Martinez family wishes.
Yet the mayor's office saying he will.
Now, at the very end of that clip, yes, and don't worry, I misedited that. He says he will attend. It would be best of you not to go to that funeral. And the biggest reason why you should not go to that funeral is because everybody in that neighborhood, everybody who knows that family, everybody who knew their son, they know that you, Brandon, have helped create and helped foster the environment, or made the environment that Lori Lightfoot had, or made the environment for her, which was Rahm Emanuel. You've made it much, much worse. You've made it to the point to where it really and truly is Chiraq, which, of course, is the nickname that most people give the city of Chicago at this moment in time, given all the violence, given all the violent crime, given all the robberies, all that type of good stuff there that the mainstream media does not like to cover. Of course, the FBI statistics came out and fully contradicted what the mainstream media says about crime being down. They even gave the right explanation, which, of course, is the same explanation many others have given, which is they've changed the thresholds to certain crimes. They're not charging crimes. Of course, when you charge somebody with a crime, that goes into the Department of Justice database. Of course, if you can't charge people due to the new woke laws, the new woke rules, then guess what? Chances are they will not go into the system as a crime. The reality on the ground is obviously much, much different than what the mainstream media loves to report and what they love to tell you. But like I said before, this right here just goes to show you how disrespectful this guy is. But then again, though, it may not really and truly be disrespect. It may be what I've always said. This guy really and truly is dumb as a bag of rocks. But let's get this last part.
Statement saying in part, the mayor of Chicago will attend all honors funeral services for every police officer, firefighter, or EMT who loses their life in the line of duty. These official honor services are solemn moments to honor the sacrifice of our officers and first responders. It is the mayor's honor to support the officers of the entire Chicago Police Department, especially in moments of grief.
This mayor better not show up. That's so disrespectful.
No, you need to stay the hell out of this, Brandon. What has happened is this here. Brandon Johnson has created a war zone. First of all, you want to raise the property tax, which of course got voted down. You want to raise the property tax, and which, by the way, older couples who have nicer homes, they're going to be forced to pay a much, much higher tax, which, by the way, they got their homes, of course, to get the hell out of the more dangerous parts of Chicago. You've got that issue. Number two, you've also got this issue where you've got migrants running all over the place, including Venezuelan gangs. I mentioned it before. While at the same time, you're trying to cut the police department and also cut certain government employees, which more than likely will come out of the police department's pensions. By the way, those pensions they earned with 20 to 30 years of service, in some cases longer, put their lives on the line. Some of these guys, by the way, got shot like in the line of duty or got hurt, got stabbed or whatnot, and they're still there because, quite frankly, they understand that the city of Chicago needs them, or the people of the city of Chicago needs them. You're going to cut from there, and then to go on top of that, you're going to go to the funeral, regardless what the family tells you to do, because it's a great big giant vanity process. You have to show some type of solidarity. Dude, your environment got that officer killed. It's your stupid decisions that have led the city of Chicago to basically give you a unanimous fuck you and a great big giant middle finger. But this idiot right now was wondering why the hell it is that people in the city of Chicago don't like it. Then again, though, what do you expect from a radical liberal like Brandon Johnson? But I'm glad to see that people in Chicago have finally woken up, but or at least they're starting to. I just hope it isn't too late. With that right there being said, guys, two very, very quick things before I close this video. Number one, this right here is going to be about the scheduling for this week. And, of course, the scheduling for this week is going to go a little bit like this here. We're going to go back to 12/5. Which is the normal schedule that I have anyways, at least for this week here, okay? And as far as the videos are concerned, it's going to be something that's already trending, kind of the big thing of the day, and I'm going to kind of go back to something that I wanted to get made last week, which is about to talk about the bigger issue itself going forward. So that's how things are going to work this week, and I'm going to try to get it all the way to Wednesday, which is going to result in probably the overall Thanksgiving video, where I kind of wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, but of course I'm going to give you guys more details on the content to come out next year. But there is one more thing, and I meant to lead with this right here first for the last point. We may be coming back to the same topic on the city of Chicago for the slain officer, and the reason why is because, yeah, like I said before, it's probably going to blow up in Brandon's face, and of course I'm going to be here to tell you guys, basically, I told you so. With that right there being said, make sure you guys please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign off in the comment section, and I'll see you guys later.